Hello, this is Bob Gray Sr. Welcome to Ministry Moments. Every Friday, 3 o'clock Central Time, we'll come to you on Ministry Moments YouTube, and you can go there and subscribe. That way you'll get it every week. And it's not long, not drawn out, but basically some thought, something that comes up because of course, I get phone calls all the time from young preachers, and glad to do it, and glad to be of help. And when I go somewhere, usually a question and answer and so on. And so things come up, and I try to provide thoughts to them to be able to understand the principle behind some of the decisions that are made. So today, I want to talk to you about vital stats. Vital stats. You go to the doctor. He takes your blood pressure. You give him a sample of your urine, you give him blood, and then they check it all out and so on. And I usually get, every year, I have a physical exam, and it starts out by them looking at those vital stats. They look at them first before they talk to me or check me out and so on. So vital stats are important. Sometimes I hear preachers say, I don't want to know what people are giving. I don't want to know what they're giving. And yet that's a vital stat. If you come in and seek counsel from me about finances, I'm going to get a hold of the financial department, find out if you're tithing. I'm not, the amount doesn't mean anything. I just want to make sure you're faithful at what you're doing. And there's no don't talk to me about your finances if you're not even doing the basic thing. You're robbing God with tithes and offerings. So that's just an example. But there are some things. And when I shared this with Brother Hiles one time, he said, and this is going to shock you. This is going to shock you. He said, I never thought about that. And for him to say he never thought about something, he loved this part. He loved the soul winning clinic where I taught this, and he loved it when we had Q&A, and I mentioned it and so on. So let me talk to you about vital stats. Let me give you some thoughts here. Number one, car count. You know how many cars are in your parking lot? In a city like ours, they'll say 2.5 per car is what they will allow concerning your seating. What can you seat? 300, 400, 500, 600, whatever it is. In our city, they would say 2.5 per car. And then they would tell you how many parking spots that you could have. And so a car count tells me a lot whether and I want to know that figure. Number two, man count. And we have 12 sections on the lower floor, 10 sections on the balcony. And I would have individual ushers do their section. I worry sometimes when I see we have one man who does the count, and he can't carry the burden like the man of God can, and he may get discouraged if it's not going up higher and higher and higher. So he doesn't see what's going on in the background. But so I had different men do it. But I wanted to know the total man count. And then number three, giving units count. How many giving units did I have? When it comes to borrowing money, they'll want to know that, how many giving units you have, and you ought to know ahead of time. Now, you say, why the car count? Why the man count? Why the giving units count? I'll tell you why. If the offering is down and the man count is down, then I can understand. If the man count is up and the offering's down, then there's something wrong. Now, if the man count is down and the offerings are down, then I'm going to tighten my belt inside the office. I'm not going to get upset with church members or anybody else. We're going to make sure we tighten our belts. Now, if the man count is up and the offerings are down, then I don't bother me at all. I'll go to the pulpit and say, look, now, don't you be stealing from God. I don't know what you're doing with God's money. You bought a hound dog, sell it and put it back in the plate. So that's how I viewed it. I wanted, there's no sense in getting upset with the church members if the man count is down and the giving units are down. Don't get upset with them. You're going to go soul winning, win some more people to Christ. So vital stats. Number one, car count. Number two, man count. I want to know that. Number three, giving units account. I want to know that. Number four, soul winning attendance count. Now, I learned from Dr. Rice. Dr. Rice was at Howes Anderson College. He was preaching. Oh, what a great man of God, a great man of God. And he was in the Russell Anderson room, and Dr. Evans sent me down to get something out of the Russell Anderson room, so I went and got it. I didn't know that Dr. Rice was in the room, and he was there sitting in the corner. I couldn't see who it was because he was, the sword of the Lord was being held up, but he was reading his own paper. I always thought that was funny. But and when he dropped the paper down, I said, Dr. Rice, I am so sorry. I am so sorry. And then I shut the door and said, but can I take a couple minutes with you? Yes. Well, one of the things I wrote in front of my old red Schofield Bible was, you give me 100 on Thursday, and I'll give you, eventually, I'll give you 1,000 on Sunday. That's what I learned from him that day. He said, everybody wants the 1,000 on Sunday, but nobody wants to get the soul winners out. So he called it visitation, soul winning visitation out, number out. And so I learned something that day. And then also Dr. Evans said something. My wife was Dr. Evans' secretary. And when I got ready to leave, I asked for some advice, and he said, decade growth, decade growth. You do everything that'll cause growth, but don't you look at your attendance, because you'll get discouraged. You simply look at your soul winning numbers. How many people out soul winning? How many people are getting saved? He said, a decade, you'll end up, and he was right. He was absolutely right on that decade growth, because you get discouraged. And by the way, I never compared Sunday to Sunday figures. I compared year-to-date figures, same time a year later. I don't mind doing that. I can do that, but not Sundays up and down, up and down. It'll get you discouraged. But compare year-to-date figures, and that'll tell you, and manpower. You've got to know the manpower. How many people are out? The last year I pastored, we had 625 people going soul winning. That, I took a picture of, I should have put it up behind me there, but I'll do it next week. But we had 625 people out soul winning, and that lower floor was full. And we'd take a picture. I'd give it to the people, say, put it in front of your soul winning Bibles, and then you pray for our soul winning, that we'll not let up on it. Can't let up on it. Service groups cannot do what soul winning can do. You ought to be of service to people and help people, but that shouldn't be your main thing. The main thing ought to be winning souls, keeping people out of hell. And by the way, don't say, well, we're in a small town. No, every 10 years, you got a 10-year-old that becomes 20. You've always got new prospects. So there are only so many transfers. There's only so many. And you only get so many. I've watched these young guys through the years try to build on proselyting from all of the other churches or try to do it nationwide. It never works. It never works. Win souls, get people saved, get them down out, get them baptized. All right. We're talking about vital statistics. Number one, car count. Find out what your car count is. Number two, man count. Number three, giving units count. Next, soul winning attendance count. Are the numbers, the more they go up, the greater the benefit of it. Next, men soul winning count. How many men do I have going soul winning? Next, ladies soul winning count. How many ladies do we have going soul winning? Sunday school count. What's my Sunday school count? I want to know what it is and keep record. And again, compare year to date. Don't compare week to week. You'll get discouraged. Then Sunday school teacher count. Sunday school teacher count. Listen to this. Divide to multiply. Divide to multiply. I was just with a church in Pennsylvania, and oh my goodness, he's doing great. He's just doing great. No, he's not. It's not a big church, but it will be one day. And when I said to him, I said, brother, you have really grown. He said, divide to multiply. He said, that's what I learned from you. Divide to multiply. Start a lot of small classes. Jesus had 12. He turned the world upside down with 12 after 3 years. Well, then if it gets any bigger than that, start another class. You know who always learns more than anybody? The teacher does. The teacher more than the student. The teacher's not going to teach everything. He's going to teach about half or 75% of what he's learned himself. But the teacher's the one that grows. All right. So number one, car count. Number two, man count. Number three, giving units count. How many giving units do you have? Next, soul winning attendance count. How many are out soul winning? How many out soul winning? Men soul winning account. How many men do I have out soul winning? Ladies soul winning. How many ladies do I have out? Sunday school count. What's my Sunday school count? And compare year to date. Don't compare week to week. Sunday school teacher count. I've got to get more Sunday school teachers. I've got to divide to multiply. Next, bus route. How many bus routes do you have? How many bus routes do you have? You always want to be growing. Maybe adding 1 or 2 a year, but you've got to be growing. Next, bus attendance count. Bus attendance count. Do you need to maybe give a shot in the arm to get the bus attendance up? you need to know that. Bus captain count. Now, I told Brother Duckett one time, Junior, who was the head of our our music, what a great man he was, and what a great assistant pastor he was. But I would say to him, if you don't get new choir members this week, you won't have a choir a year from now. I would say to the bus director, if you don't get new bus drivers this week, I mean, look for them. Look for them. You don't do that, you'll need bus drivers a year from now. Bus captains, be looking for bus captains all the time. We had 40 plus routes. My goal was 100. I wanted to have 100 so bad, and 100. But you got to keep working at it. Next, bus driver count, and then the last, baptism count. That baptism number tells everything. That's the number, the numerical value of your baptisms tells you you're getting people saved, and it tells you how many you got to put in Sunday school to help them to grow in the Lord. And so baptism count. So vital stats, very important. Do you know your car count? Do you know your man count? Do you know the giving units, the soul winning attendance count, all soul winning? I would see attendance of all your soul winning time. We had 8 altogether. Big push on Thursday night, and we filled that lower floor once a year with to get everybody from all the different groups in there, and then take a picture. I wanted our people to see what everything was, because we had clubs, different clubs, soul winning clubs, and so on. I wanted them to be a part of that. 625 soul winners a week makes a difference. Soul winning attendance, men's soul winning count, ladies' soul winning count, Sunday school count, Sunday school teacher. How many teachers do you have? And these classes, when they start getting up 15, 20, you better divide them. All right, bus route count. How many bus routes do you have? And somebody say 50-50. Is that the rule? No. Faculty, facilities, and finances. Write it down. Faculty, facilities, and finances. Let that veto. Let that approve or veto anything. Faculty, facilities, and finances. You got that? Those 3. If you don't have it, you can't do it. If you don't have the money, you can't do it. You don't have the people to care for it, faculty, you can't do it. If you don't have the facilities for it, you can't do it. Now, you can double use facilities, but you can't double use workers. Don't do that to them. You let them focus on the ministry that they have at hand. All right? Bus route count, bus attendance count, bus captain count, bus driver count, baptism count. And it's important to know all of these vital stats, because it's going to make a difference. And every year you ought to grow. It's not tremendous growth. It says grow in grace, but it doesn't say how much. Just grow. That's the important thing. Just grow. And don't compare yourself. I never compared Longview Baptist Temple to First Baptist Church in Hammond. Never. I would never, ever do that. And you shouldn't either. So it's important to understand that your growth, be your own competition. Be your own competition. Well, I hope this has helped you. We got soul winning tomorrow now. We got to win soul to get somebody ready to walk that aisle on Sunday morning. God bless you. You have a great weekend, but don't neglect your soul winning, please. God bless.